So this is the 0800 GMT edition of the KhoodeelaarTV television channel, broadcasting under the banner of the Baby Angel Geronimo editions at 0800 hours GMT on Sunday, the 19th of March 2023. We didn't broadcast any edition on Saturday, the 18th of March 2023. And the updates that are overdue in this edition include the following. The situation in Pakistan, where the corrupt regime, the federal regime, fronted by the younger brother of Nawaz Sharif, has been carrying out what Imran Khan has described as the London plot against Imran Khan and the Tehreek-e-Insaf. And as part of the London plot, the Pakistan central government deployed gangs of thugs disguised as Lahore police to attack the Zaman Park residence of Imran Khan after Imran Khan started his journey to reach the Islamabad High Court, where he was due to appear. And he did the tweet, and he posted the tweet and told the viewers what was happening. And he said that his wife, Bushra Begum, was alone in the house. I think a very large number of people viewed the video posted by Imran Khan supporters of the thugs posing as Lahore police, literally bulldozing their way into the premises compound of Imran Khan's house in Lahore. And over in Islamabad, the judge who was presiding had no option but to cancel the arrest warrant, one of the arrest warrants that Imran Khan was facing. And the judge said that the situation was not conducive to conduct a hearing. But the judge noted the fact that Imran Khan did make the appearance, and that was in accordance with the requirements of the court. And Imran Khan is now due to appear in the same court on the 30th of March. It will be interesting to see what the court actually does, because after the criminals posing as the police ransacked and bulldozed their way into Imran Khan's house. Imran Khan, of course, filed a contempt of court application to the court. So we shall be updating on those. Now, there's a piece in the Financial Times, the weekend Financial Times, under the heading of the Lunch with FT or FT Lunch. It is featuring Michael HEZZA Heseltine, and he's being given a retrospective role or credit as a leveling up pioneer. Now, leveling up is a phrase and part of description of the UK central government behavior, which is driving the people of the north. Leveling up, which is a patronizing southeast of England or southern England or southern English kind of phrase, leveling up. So the Financial Times, generally edited by this Lebanon or Lebanese born and brought up, quote, Muslim, Rawallah Khalaf, who is a mental slave and a stooge to the Japanese owners, who are in turn stooges of the West in the imperialistic kind of context. And the leveling up is being credited in relation to the 1981 so-called riots that took place in some of the English cities, including in the case of Liverpool, in Liverpool 8, otherwise known as Toxteth. Toxteth was one of the targets of the leveling up bribery, as indeed was, curiously, the corrupt area in terms of the local council called Tower Hamlets, Bethnal Green City Challenge. Now, Bethnal Green was part of Tower Hamlets, and the criminals, the mental slaves and idiots, ethnicity-linked idiots that were given platforms by the racist mainstream media, were complete mental slaves, even in 1981. Because contrary to the role played by the actual black youths in Bristol earlier in the year 1981, and then in Brixton in Lambeth later in the year, and the events in Brixton coincided with the events in Southall, Bradford, Manchester, Birmingham, and of course in Liverpool 8, Toxteth. The criminals, mental slaves, ethnicity-linked mental slaves that were given the platforms by the mainstream racist media, were boasting. Notice the thing. It's like Mir Zafar's children, the bastards of Mir Zafar, East India Company. They were boasting that we, the mental slaves said, we stopped any riots happening in Tower Hamlets. There would be no riots in Tower Hamlets in any way describable or comparable as those that took place in Southall, in Brixton, in Liverpool 8, in Birmingham, in Bradford, as happened in the corrupt SWP Wonkers hijacked. Osman Provocateur played kind of so-called confrontation outside the Royal London Hospital, as it was in the Whitechapel Road on the 10th of September 1993. And that was strategically used by the Daily Mail and the Sun, giving credit to the police instead of acknowledging the racist attacks that had taken place on a group of boys, including Quddus Ali, in the Commercial Road on the Wednesday, the first week of Wednesday, September 1993. There is a long factual story about all of that. I played the role at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end about the attack on Quddus Ali. And that was another campaign that I had to mount to defend the community against racists and against corrupt criminals, so-called socialists, like the SWP wonkers. SWP wonkers operated through their mental slave frontage called Kumar More Shit. And what happened as a result of this more shit kind of attempt to get into the main events as the main organizer of the campaign, which he never was, which he congenitally never was, would never be able to do, was by starting the confrontation with the police and the youths, Bangladeshi youths. Instead, the Bangladeshi youths, about 200 or 300 of those, literally ran away from the scene, most of them running towards the Cannon Street Road, and a smaller number running towards Brick Lane and Bethnal Green. And the following day's newspapers, that is the Daily Mail and the Sun mainly, of Saturday, the 11th of September. Let's check the date just to be certain. So if we say calendar 1993, what would be the dates? The attack on Quddus Ali well, it was probably the second Wednesday, the 8th of September. And the 9th of September was Thursday. And the 10th of September was the Friday. And I'm right in remembering that the Saturday was the 11th of September. If we look at the actual if we check the newspaper, So all these items that were published during mainly September 1993 and then October 1993 that are accessible were published in the Guardian, the Evening Standard, the Daily Mirror, the Daily Express, and so on. But there is no entry in this particular website featuring the Daily Mail or the Scum. And there was a character called Rahul Patel. What the fuck is this Rahul Patel? The fucking cunt. He was one of the SWP Wankar's ethnic surrogates. So what happened was mainly the items that are featured in this particular website connect the attack on Quddus Ali with the BNP's first candidate for a by-election that took place in the Isle of Dogs. And Derek Beacon was then later elected. And there was a absolutely false series of predictions about Derek Beacon. Derek Beacon was elected by the voters on the Isle of Dogs, who really, essentially, never knew about the BNP, but they knew about the Conservatives, which is what happened. The Conservative councillors from the Isle of Dogs, councillors now reduced to one councillor, is of course the racist Peter Golds. Peter Golds is the conservative, racist conservative, anti-Muslim conservative, anti-Bangladeshi conservative on the Darablas Council, who historically has been given the maximum coverage, promotional coverage, by the ignorant idiot Ted Jory. Ted Jory is an idiot and an ignorant racist. And the main promotions that Peter Golds was given was related to his alleged opposition to the wrongful behavior of the incumbent in the corrupt post of elected mayor the first time round, that is the period from October 2010 until he was kicked out by the election commissioner Richard Morey on the 23rd of April 2015, Lutfur Rahman. Along with Ted Jory was another idiot who is now no longer alive, Mark Baines. Between the two of those races, they confected a scenario about Tar Hamlers based on the local council that suggested that Lutfur Rahman was being rigorously scrutinized and watched by pro-democracy activists like Peter Golds. That was a lie, because Peter Golds, although he claims to be a campaigner, essentially is a racist, and racism and inciting hatred and retailing racist slogans is his main capital. Peter Golds, despite the fact that he was promoted by Ted Jury and Mark Baines, failed, absolutely singularly failed to bring about any mobilization of any campaign among the voters in Tower Hamlets who could then oust Lutfur Rahman forever. Instead, it was left to a collection of dubious individuals featuring Azmal Hussain, who fled Sweden with 5 million, equivalent to 5 million pounds worth of debt he still owes to the Swedish government, or the Swedish equivalent of the HMRC. Azmal Hussain then collected a dubious character called Andy Arlam, and a locally based supporter of the UKIP. All three of them. Now, this is the 19th of March 2023, and we're talking about the ruling by the election commissioner based on the petition that these three signed, along with another one, who is Debbie Simon. But Debbie Simon distanced herself from these three, especially because of the misbehavior by the idiot and the Arlam. So I don't include Debbie Simon in the list of those who deserve condemnation for their misrepresentation of the so-called campaign against Lutfur Rahman's corruption and fraud, etc., etc. The Timeless Council has remained in the grip of crooks, whether it's the crook in the form of John Biggs the liar, or the crook in the form of Lutfur Rahman the pretentious liar. Because as the election commissioner, Richard Morey, stated himself, Lutfur Rahman was always showing apparent courtesy whenever he was asked any questions during the hearing of the petition against him. But, said Richard Morey, Lutfur Rahman was a comprehensive liar and was an unreliable witness. So this is the background to Michael Heseltine being promoted as the person who made several million pounds available under the banner of the Bethnal Green City Challenge in 1991. But the crooks who got control of the Bethnal Green City Challenge included participation by the Tower Hamlets Council at that time. And the crooks who got the money had nothing to do with opposing discrimination, encouraging participation, encouraging accountability whatsoever. And there was a UK central government crooked bureaucrat. There was a woman that was kind of in charge of the operation for the Bethnal Green City Challenge area, and she ended up lying to the script made available to her by the local crooks, by the local corrupt armed council. Erika Zima, this racist, lying Erika Zima, colluded with the crooks inter-armed council. And the provision that Michael Heseltine made for the so-called regeneration ended up in the hands of the degenerates who further degenerated the area. Personally, these criminals got money and they pretended to be setting up restaurants and similar businesses in and around Brick Lane. But there is no trace of any benefit that was transferred to the ordinary population in Hamlets, in Brick Lane, etc., etc. That happened in the early 1990s. And it was shortly after the expiry of the Bethnal Green City Challenge real money that the BNP put up this candidate Derek Beacon for the by-election in the Isle of Dogs, which Derek Beacon duly won. And that actually showed the incompetence and the racist collusion, the culture of racist collusion by the Labour Party, and of course by the Conservatives. In 1991, 92, 93, up to 94, I think, was it 94? Whenever the last election took place, let's check the elections in Tower Hamlets in the 1990s and we should find out what happened with Derek Beacon. Derek Beacon is a British far-right politician. He is currently a member of the British Democratic Party and a former member of the British National Party and National Front. In 1993, he became the BNP's first elected councillor, although he served for only 8 months. When he was asked about refuse collection by the Daily Mirror, Derek Beacon said, "The Asians are rubbish, and that is what we are going to clear from the streets." So this entry about Derek Beacon on the Wikipedia is as stupid, as racist, as corrupt as that can be. So there is not a lot about Tar Hamlers and the role of the Labour Party or the Lib Dems or the social SDP Liberal, as they were called. Because the SDP Liberal, the alliance, got control of Tar Hamlers Council at the May 1986 election. So they were in power 86 to 1990 and then 90 to 94. That was the year I was looking for. So BNP, Derek Beacon was in power or in post for 8 months, but he was there while the Lib Dems were in control of Tar Hamlers Council. And so there are picture of Ravina Khan's husband and the pictures of all Abzul Mia and another two, I think, from the so-called Roman party are featured in the Lib Dems website for Tar Hamlers. The Lib Dems, when they got control of Tar Hamlers Council for the first time in 1986, they were effectively led by the racist criminal Jeremy Shaw. And Jeremy Shaw was the criminal that spread the racist, fascistic, dehumanizing program for denying housing to Bangladeshis. And he proposed that the Bangladeshi homeless people be housed on boats. Remember the word boats? That was, let's say, between 1986 to 1990. So, nearly 40 years ago. And it is the boats that the fascistic Suella, Ibila, Cruella, Braverman, and the stooge Rishi Sunak, they are now using the same word, the same concept, only that they have updated the use of boats to tools for drowning the most desperate and vulnerable people. And so the degeneration of tar hamlets that took place with the collusion of Erika Zima, who operated under the auspices of the Bethnal Green City Challenge, foisted by the corrupt incumbency of the minister, which is equivalent Minister of Housing or inner cities, Michael Heseltine. The degeneration continues and has continued for the last, let's say, 40 years. So let's say what the Financial Crimes is saying in the promotional piece that George Parker has written promoting Heseltine. On the front page of the Weekend Financial Times, the Weekend FT, I don't know whether it's the camera will catch this front page, but that's the front page where the picture of the Heseltine there. I mean, I have to kind of hold it like that because of the camera angle. I don't know how to technically address that. There is no guidance as to how to do it, but that is Heseltine in the FT Weekend. And what it says is the adults are back in charge. The Heseltine remains an idiot, despite the fact that there is a huge claim to the contrary, that he is dynamic and all the rest of it. Now, this is the main piece. Again, I put the camera in that way. That is the main piece written by attributed to George Parker. Lunch with the FT Michael Heseltine. And what this is saying about Heseltine is fiction. A pivotal figure in British politics for half a century. What did he pivot? The Tory grandee. That's a sick making word, grandee. Fuck him. Fuck them. got the sack for resisting Brexit, oversold Goujon's and Chablis in London. He talks to George Parker about falling out with Margaret Thatcher, leveling up Liverpool. Fuck him! And whether Britain will rejoin the European Union. They never did level up Liverpool, you fucking morons. The degeneration of Liverpool continues. The Liverpool Council has had a series of criminals in posts, including the mayor, who was discredited. Overdue, the discrediting of the mayor despite the Treasury saying that Liverpool was a lost cause, with talk of a managed decline, Heseltine devised in the 1980s an international garden festival to revitalize the port city, which had been devastated by industrial closures and scarred by riots, and which was in the grip of a hard left local council that loathed Thatcher and her government. Now, this is the Financial Times. Is supposed to get the finance right, but the word's hard left is of course referring to the likes of Derek Hutton. Derek Hutton was the one that was seen on the videos as physically objecting to Neil the crook, the scum, Kinnock, who abused his position as leader of the Labour Party and denounced the Liverpool City Council, where Derek Hutton was deputy leader, over the redundancies that they handed out from taxis, etc., etc. Now, all of the reporting of what happened in Liverpool at that time and all of the reporting of what has happened since has been absolutely fabricated and untruthful. Now, this phrase, hard left, is a creeping criminality of ignorance by Fleet Street. George Parker is described as the political editor of the fucking Financial Times. He is a political idiotizer, the fuck. He has no idea about politics. Not when talking about the people of Liverpool. And he finishes his promotion of Michael Heseltine by saying Heseltine's thoughts are turning back to Thetford, far from Westminster corridors and the political battles that he waged over 50 years. He fucking waged no political wars, he fucking liar. He was an opportunist, careerist, crook. The truth is, you can't name a single politician of the 19th century except a handful of prime ministers. Parker is quoting Heseltine as saying, so they will remember me for my trees. Trees outlive us, frail mortals, says Heseltine. Now, not only do trees outlive crooks like Heseltine, but the truth outlives crooks like Heseltine always, every time. Heseltine, in his 50 years of corruption, did all kinds of stunts. In fact, he was like, he was very much the model that Boris Johnson must have fashioned himself after. He did all kinds of stunts. The only other person in the Conservative Party in the last 50 years that has done anything like the number of stunts that Heseltine had indulged in is Boris the congenital liar Johnson. He's a faker. Heseltine, in 1990, Thatcher quit after failing to convincingly see off Heseltine in the first round of voting in the Tory leadership contest. She insisted that her cabinet did not vote for Heseltine in the second round, and the low-key John Major emerged as the winner. Heseltine did bump into Thatcher occasionally after her defenestration, but says any conversation between the two was very perfunctory. Heseltine went on to serve as John Major's deputy prime minister, refusing to stand against him in the 1995 Tory leadership contest, before being swept out of power in Tony Blair's Labour landslide in 97. But Heseltine never disappeared from the political scene, re-emerging as an eminence grise to the youthful Tory Prime Minister David Cameron in the early 2010s, writing reports on how to regenerate Britain. Fuck him. Now, if it was Heseltine that advised the racist scum David Cameron, then it confirms that Heseltine was as corrupt, as racist, as patronizing as the evil doing David Cameron the crook. Heseltine says with George Parker credits him, and he says that I'll read that again because there was this disconnection with the internet, disconnected for a few seconds. Heseltine says that while he does not agree with Sunak on Brexit, he is getting down to hard nitty-gritty of trying to work out solutions. The adults are back. It will be too late. Opposition is currently 20 points in the polls, in most polls. Heseltine says that he is frequently invited to speak at universities, where his pro-EU speeches receive rapturous applause. But why does he think so many other oldies voted for Brexit? He sighs and says bluntly, race isn't it ironic that Parker doesn't explain this racism? Of course, Brexit was about racism, as was proven within minutes of the Brexit referendum result being announced. Muslims were specifically physically targeted and attacked. Muslim women in saris. So this George Parker piece is a typical Financial Times or Fleet Street piece. It doesn't really reflect the truth of what is happening in this country or the truth of whatever Heseltine spent 50 years. Now, here is a confession on the first column. In spite of being seen as the archetypal one nation Tory, Heseltine recalls, quote, actually in government, I did more hard right things than any other minister. Fuck the lot. Of course he did. Which is why George Parker avoided discussing Heseltine's role in the racist regime. He said, the quote again, actually, In government, I did more hard right things than any other minister I know. Heseltine says Thatcher told Michael Joplin, the then chief whip, that she thought I was her natural successor. Heseltine pushed through a flagship Thatcher program of selling social housing to locality tenants, creating a new wave of capitalist Tory voters, and later went on to do battle with the campaign for nuclear disarmament as defense secretary. He reduced bureaucracy, privatized quangos, and was generally seen as being in the vanguard of the Thatcherite revolution. In my 6 years in our government, it was a very good relationship. It was during this spell that Heseltine, as Environment Secretary, established his reputation as a bold champion of the active state, or levelling up, as the current Tory government would call it. In his budget statement this week, Chancellor Jeremy Hunt name checked Heseltine as a trailblazer for urban regeneration. But the man himself believes today's crop of politicians, hobbled by treasury caution, have failed to embrace the model he devised to raise up broken communities. He did not raise up broken communities himself, he shit. So we shall be ending this one at 1 hour, 1 minute at 0900 GMT, this edition. And we shall continue on the other aspects of the updates that we didn't complete.